earlier I meant to do a follow-up question. We'll go back to that. You mentioned about royalty audits. Like, so what are like some of the common misconceptions about royalty audits?
Sure. I think one of the misconceptions is that audits are sort of binary, like you do an audit or you don't do an audit, or if you do an audit, it's going to be this really big audit. Or if you do an audit, you're going to audit every penny. And the truth is not that it's so binary. Instead, it's usually a question of what level of auditing makes sense. Because sometimes if the earnings are low, no audit makes sense, or limited audit procedures make sense. There's something that's very scaled back called a desk audit or a desktop audit, which is using the information available to you on your desktop.
Right.
And so that would be in the context of an entertainment situation. It would probably be an agreement between a profit participant and a studio, as well as the profit participation statements coming in.
When the client asks you for a royalty audit, like what is something you have to explain to them? Because somebody inevitably will say, well, I was expecting X, Y, and Z, because you said that sometimes you are, if it's small
Right.
enough where you may have to be honest with the client and say, hey, this is not something, I guess sometimes just like what I do with my clients is sometimes it's not worth pursuing. How do you balance that with the client wanting an audit or not understanding what the audit is about?
I mean, it's a challenge. We try to set expectations about how long an audit's going to take and what we're planning to cover, because we usually don't have a budget to audit every penny. And I mean, what my guiding principle is always like, we want to find out what really happened, right? And so we try to do the minimum amount of work needed to accomplish that. But in terms of the misconception, I mean, it's just really an educational process. If a potential client comes to us and talks about doing a particular audit, and we put together a custom plan for them, which is a proposal which procedures we would recommend in their case and what our fees would be for that. And then if they go talk to somebody else and that person says, oh, we would do an audit for, half that amount.
Right.
People don't understand that not all audits are created equal, is my point. And so the question is, well, what are you skipping? What areas of analysis are you skipping in order to, save in those fees? And so I just think people generally think, oh, you either audit or you don't, but it's really, much more nuanced than that. And there are, as I was mentioning earlier, there are desktop audits, which are based just on the agreement and the incoming accountings. And we take a look at whether the rates that are reported are found in the contract and things like that. Or there are more formal audits where we give audit notice to a counterparty, and everything is more official, and usually there's attorneys involved and
Right.
settlement agreement usually.
So it kind of reminds me of discovery, because there are some cases where I send out minimal discovery, but my client would like me to serve all this stuff, and I'm like, hey, I don't mind. I'm being paid by the hour, so if you want me to do it, I'll do it. But ultimately, it doesn't serve any purpose, and so a lot of times misconception for my clients is not understanding what my purpose is for doing discovery, and maybe sometimes your client might be interested in thinking they're being cheated out of some money, or they feel like some money's missing, and it simply could be that the product isn't performing the way it's supposed to. And I think they keep thinking you're going to be able to provide that information. So I get you're saying. I totally got a flashback of how I have to deal with my clients.